PrettyGeeks, and welcome to a new Sketchbox unboxing. Unfortunately, we've got a sticker over part of our image today, but the art of this month being featured is by Jennifer Lay on the box. And we typically get a different artist on the inside. And I'm so excited. I haven't looked at the spoilers for this one yet, so let's see what we got inside. Alright, we'll open up our paper, and first of all, we've got a beautiful little postcard size print by Sophie Paradis. Hailing from Atlanta, Sophie is a fine art painter and craftsman who expresses herself through a multitude of mediums in an effort to share her curious ideas. Her passion for Mother Nature is showcased in her vibrant work through her emphasis on botanical and natural worlds. A variety of her work is currently on display at the Marquee in the River Arts District of Asheville, North Carolina. So if you are interested in checking out Sophie Paradis, there you go. All right. Next up. Oh, I did hear what this one was called, but I didn't look into it. All right. Oh, I'm so glad I didn't go too far down the rabbit hole looking into the title. We have our little sticker with tiny bottles of ink. And we've got a little bundle of paper. It's printmaking and drawing cotton paper. We've got 10 sheets in a 4x6, so that's common picture. Like we used to get lots of prints made of these. We've got 10 sheets of this. So it is a mold-made cotton paper. It does not seem to be bound. It's not on any like cardstock. Next, we got a new brush, a King Art round in a number 4. Very pretty. This is one of my favorite brush sizes. I like a really big round brush, and I like a skinny kind of dotting style brush. Next, we got a Copic multi-liner. It is a 0.5 in pink. Use this waterproof fine liner to create an initial sketch or on top of the inks in this month's box. It's perfect for line art, outlines, and graphic details. It retails for $3.99 each. Oh, you know what? I totally missed that. Brush value, $9.99. Retail, and our paper retail value is $7.99. Next up, we have the new currently leaking but working, the new Sketchbox signature white gel pen, and it is in a 0.8 millimeter. It's a little hard to see because it has been leaking a little bit. There is no smooch in the box though, so she might just be a little cranky. Oh. And it's a Sketchbox exclusive and is for highlights and textures. It is made to work with a variety of different mediums. And its retail value is $3.59. Next up, we have the Custom Hero Arts Reactive Ink. We just got from Hero Arts this glimmer metallic ink. It is stunning, by the way. If you didn't get that box, quick intermission, look at that. This one makes a paint on really beautiful replacement for gold leaf or metallic accents. So this is my in progress art at the moment, but I loved the way it splattered. It thinned out really beautifully. So this month's, I wasn't sure how they were going to do this because the only reactive inks I had seen on their website were their ink pads. So I wasn't sure that they were going to have inks again, and I was really hoping that they would, and I'm so happy. So these ones are a really unique type of ink. They have a really striking color, and this is a really beautiful range. And you can dilute them to create more of a subtle wash, or you can use them straight out of the bottle. They are reactive, as in able to be reactivated. So once dry, you can reactivate them with water. You can get some different textured effects. I'll have to play with it a little bit, because sometimes reactivated inks reactivate right away. They wash really beautifully. The Derwent ones that are supposed to be more of a permanent, and I think they talk about them being more middle of the road now. They give you more of a haze or a cast. So we'll see how much these ones really reactivate when dry. And the 4 of these together has a retail price of $23.96. And we got blue raspberry, which looks quite a bit more green in person. A fruit punch, which in the picture looks red, but in the person it is quite orange. It's like a good tomato soup color where it's that reddy orange. We got fog. Interesting. I'm not sure exactly what color this one is supposed to be. Like a gray. I'm thinking, not sure if I'm going to say hoping. I'm thinking it might need to be mixed because it looks very mottled. So it might just be one that there is a white pigment, and white pigment tends to either kind of dissipate to nothing or get chunky. And then there's also lemon drop, which is a really beautiful dark yellow. I'm surprised that they didn't give a water brush, but at the same time, I feel like we get a fair number of water brushes. So I'm really excited to play with these. These are our ink colors, plus 2 pens. This one's going to be a little trickier to get them all in the shot because they're rolly. A brush and paper. And this month's creative prompt is Sweet Treat. Looking closer at these, there's actually a ton of separation in all the colors, so make sure you give them a really good shake if you try these ones out. So value wise, that brings us to $49.60, or about $50, which I'm pretty happy with, especially because they are a lot of times not supplies I would have typically grabbed or maybe even gravitated towards, but pretty consistently every single month there's at least one thing, if not everything, that becomes a new norm for me. I feel like it's a really great way to find new staples and really just to find things that you love. So the value wise, rewind here, premium, this one was the premium box and it costs $35 a month. And yeah, I think for a $50 value, that's pretty good, especially when we're thinking art supplies. And I just ran a couple tests on these ones. I'm just going to finish up here. So these are the colors swatched. First I put a dot and I made a little line off of it. The dots I attempted to re-wet. Let them settle. And I did lightly dab the blueberry and fog because they were just not drying back up. They do take a little bit longer to dry than like watercolors, and they do also have some more staining. The watercolor effect I was able to get with the colors is absolutely beautiful. If you want like a strong underlayer and don't want a ton of movement, I think you'll get that. The red pigments really surprised me the most here because it comes off very, very orange. When you mix it with water, it stays really quite orange. But when you lift it, it is a very pink toned red. So I think these ones are going to be really interesting altogether. The fog came out really quite a deep, nice mid-tone gray, but I'm not sure how well you can tell. It's quite green. So less a foggy day and more like a foggy forest. I'm so inspired just to make a forest right now. The yellow dries down quite a bit brighter than it painted on. At first I was like, oh, you know, it didn't mix in a ton. On this paper, it did bleed a bit. So you see the ones I didn't mix anything with, they still traveled a fair bit. The lines you see are the white paint pen. You need to use a really light hand. When I was swatching it, it really just kind of pushed a lot of texture into the paper itself. I did do the same bleeding test on the Copic. It is, as they described, completely waterproof. And you can tell that the paper is very absorbent. So it's a little bit different than I would typically use for watercolor, which might absorb quickly but not soak all the way through. Because even though this is a fair thickness of paper, it's got a good weight to it. It's 250 GSM. It does show through and bleed through quite a bit, but it also handles really beautifully. There's a decent amount that's kind of sitting on the surface, but all in all, I'm really liking the vibrancy of the colors, and I'm excited to see kind of what we can do with that. Our brush reformed perfectly. No extra work needed, no shaping needed. It actually just came right back to a point. And here I'll rinse it and tap it, and that's it. It picks up a really fair amount of water, and yet comes to such a perfect point. I'm really happy with this one. And I did a quick bleed test. So you can see kind of how the colors move in water. It took a little bit for blue to get going in here, but you can kind of see how they are mixing. The color tones I think are going to be really beautiful in this one, but you might have to be a little bit careful not to muddy things. But in reality, I'm liking the purple. That's kind of hiding in here. The red moves very quickly and easily. The yellow moves pretty well, and then it kind of stops itself. But once it got into like this heavier period here, it really did quite a bit of movement, and I want to try to just barely kind of move some. It sucks up really well between the pigment and this paper because it's really kind of sitting on top of it. It does not take much to lift it from its puddles. I think could be a really beautiful effect as well. Look how bright those stay. So if you're getting a mud puddle, I'm really comfortable saying that you could kind of lift it a little bit. It works really well. And then to see kind of how some of these pulled, the red, like I had said, it really moves far and fast. It didn't really take much at all to get it to go across. And the blue really struggled to move at all, even though I tried to do each one with the same amount of water, and if they weren't moving, like the blue and the yellow didn't move a lot, I kind of jiggled in the middle. That's all yellow really had needed. There we go. Sorry about that. To get moving, and it pulled itself right along it, but it actually pushed away from where the clear water was. The gray doesn't really want to move, so our green fog stays pretty steady. And just in case I'm going to completely ruin these, I am going to go in with a damp brush and see if I can move some of these and do somewhere between a mix and a coat. The paper doesn't want to be reworked a whole lot, but I do want to kind of see how those guys work together. And like we saw in the other one, it fog re-wets pretty well. Oh, with a little bit of coaxing, it moves quite a bit, but it does lift more than the other colors do. Get our sea fog going. My brush one more time. I don't want too much water because there's still a fair bit in these, even though they look fairly dried down in parts. There's quite a puddle. And this one's actually trying to make a happy green here. What do you think you're doing? You're supposed to be foggy. And then I'm going to dry my brush and see if I can just remove a tiny bit of that. You can see when they reactivate, they do pull up a bit. Beautiful. Red, like we saw before, does stain, and it stains more of a pink. Blue lifts pretty cleanly, and yellow stains very bright. Just going in there with my same brush, gonna dabbing some of the color and liquid off. There we go. So here's my little swatch card for this one. Let me know what you think. I'm really happy with this one. I definitely wouldn't have tried these new ones, but I'm really excited to see what I can make with them. I am not sure about this month's prompt with these colors. When I'm thinking sweet treat, I'm thinking pinks and purples and blues, decorated white cakes, and lots of sparkle. Whereas these seem like a really nice, good basics. And I'm excited. The pink pen might work for that. But I wonder if we can do something a little different with these. So now, because I did these swatches, I did want to add a quick addendum to what I was finding when I was first working with them and what we've kind of discovered as they've dried down. So the circle, gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. The way that they dried down, the color has changed a little bit in a few of these, namely fog. Fog has lost a lot of its greens, and some of those initial pinks that we've gotten are significantly more apparent. Some of them you can see once it's dried down, especially anywhere where it's pulled up, there's been a fair bit of staining. And I didn't touch these anymore, so throughout the paper they just did their own crawling and blending and dried down. So where they were on the wheel stayed amazingly vibrant. The colors we got from them are so stunning. And yet in the grays, you can definitely see where there is that white pigment to them. We've got a little bit of granulation. It turned out really quite beautiful. I think that'll add a really nice hazy, foggy shadow because it didn't really interfere with the colors. So that's where we're at with those, and I just thought I would share that with you. That's all I have for you, and I love you so very much. Bye-bye. Okay, goodbye for real.